Hello everybody. My life gets completely hijacked in the school holidays. And also, as you saw in Louis' vlog, he got really sick and all of you were really concerned that it's because of his vegan diet and all that kind of thing, but it was a bug and Darcy had it first and then Louis got it and then I got it. So that's something else that's kind of hijacked everything, but I'm sitting down doing a video now, so that's cool. Since I did my 57 things I've learned, I keep thinking of other things that I should have mentioned as well. And one of them relates to fears and not letting things that you're afraid of limit you or stop you doing things. And there's a little saying that I found really helpful when I'm feeling a bit like that, and it's do it afraid. You might have heard me mention it in one of Louis' vlogs 2 or 3 years ago when we were in Egypt and we suddenly found ourselves on horseback just about to go into the desert in the pitch black of night, and I'm not that keen on horses, so yeah, my fear of horses suddenly gripped me. But I couldn't let everybody down, so I just did it anyway. And then afterwards I felt good, and I think I mentioned do it afraid. That's how to not let things that you're afraid of stop you doing things and having fun and joining in with everybody else. But obviously there's different kinds of fears and there's different reasons that you have fears. It's a kind of natural human response to keep you safe. And there's a part of your brain that's part of the threat response that is scanning around all the time for threats, and that keeps you safe. But also it might come up with things that are not actually a threat, so you've got to use the logical part of your brain to kind of go, nah, that's not particularly threatening, and keep it in line. Anyway, I don't want to make this a really serious video or anything. I just thought I'd have a chat to you about some of the things that I've been afraid of and how I've overcome them. And the horse one, I'll tell you how that came about. When I was about 15, my friend had a horse and it was a really big horse and we used to go and help her clean it and take it food and that kind of stuff. And then one day she said, do you want to have a ride of it? So I got on the horse and I was a bit heavier than her, so the horse was getting a bit twitchy anyway. And then suddenly it bolted and I was on the back of it. And we were running, galloping towards this fence, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to jump the fence. And it didn't, it stopped, and I just quickly jumped off and left my shoes in the stirrups, and just my heart was pounding. So I've just never been that keen on getting on a horse. And also, when we went on a holiday to Exmoor, we did a little pony trek, and I thought, yeah, you know, I'm not that keen on horses, but I'll get on it anyway. And Darcy was in front of me. She was quite young at the time, I don't know, about 8 or 9, quite little. And her horse was a bit cheeky and it kept getting too near the horse in front. And towards the end of the ride, the horse in front of Darcy's horse suddenly had had enough and started kicking her horse. And then her horse turned sideways, nearly went down this bank, and it kicked again and it kicked Darcy's leg. And she's got a dent in her shin from it. It hasn't made her afraid of horses. Obviously it hurt, but she got on the horse again. But just confirmed to me, steer clear of horses. It's not really something that stops me doing things in life, so I haven't bothered really trying to address it. But in that situation in Egypt, I just thought, well, I don't want to miss out on doing this thing with the family, so I'm going to do it afraid. Other fears I've definitely addressed so that they don't hinder me and I haven't got like limiting beliefs going on. I'll just have a little chat about those. When I was in my early 20s, there was a talk at church about fears and dealing with them and again not letting them affect your life. And I was thinking, I'm not really afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of spiders, I'm not afraid of the dark, and I just kind of brushed it aside. And then as the week went on, I began to think about things that I hadn't really thought affected me because it's just how I always thought and always felt. So I thought everybody feels like that. But there must have been something said in this talk that made me think, yeah, no, that doesn't necessarily affect everybody. And the main one was the fear of failure. And I just suddenly found myself like clutching my stomach and thinking, oh, and thinking back to times that had been not good moments of failure. And I was thinking, yeah, no, I don't want to be thinking about this at all. I don't want this to be a determining factor. So I kind of used the logical part of my brain to kind of deal with that sort of thing. I think I probably still tackle it every now and then. And although it's probably not an overriding thing for a lot of people, it's probably something that most people do struggle with, but it doesn't have that paralysing effect on me anymore, but I keep my eye on it. Another one that a lot of people probably experience is the fear of what other people are going to say or do. I didn't really realise that I struggled with that, but when you have a plan and then you find yourself not going ahead with that plan, and you do find yourself not fulfilling things that you want to fulfill, you have got to think, okay, what is it that's stopping me? And then that's when I realised. And really, you have to tackle those ones head on, because that can really control you, and the other person might not be intentionally trying to control you, or those other people might not be intentionally trying to control you, although some of them are. But regardless of whether they are or not, it's you allowing it to control you. That's the key thing. And so you've got to think, okay, this is what I want, this is the plan I want to carry out, and this should not be stopping me. So again, just do it afraid. When I was really little, I did have this fear of, like, if I was walking in the supermarket with my mum, the floor opening up and there being water and sea lions. Sea lions were the most terrifying thing to me at the zoo. They were so loud and, I don't know, scary. And it got to be more the fear of having the thought. And I think when you're really little, you don't really know how to control your thoughts, and you think, oh, I mustn't think about that. I've lost the game. And also dreams were something that just gave me terrifying thoughts, and then it was more the fear of, am I going to think about them? And these vivid dreams were almost like feature films with titles, and there was one called Billy Set the Sky on Fire. There was a boy down the road from us called Billy, and in my dream he was playing in the street with some other kids in the street, and he had matches. I must have been like 4 or 5, really young, and I was thinking, oh no, that's really dangerous. And then he was playing with these matches, and we were all telling him it's very dangerous to play with matches. And then suddenly there was this red streak in the sky, and then this whole sky turned red, and it was just terrifying. And I woke up and went downstairs, and my dad was saying it's just a dream, and then suddenly I realised I was just dreaming that my dad was saying it was just a dream. Yeah, so that was another one of those things that I thought, I mustn't think about this, because it just had this terrifying feeling. And I had another dream about the end of the world and the earth all crumbling, and that just made my thoughts go on to, and then where would we go? And space is infinite, and infinity is incredibly scary, and I couldn't look at the sky some days in case it triggered that thought process and that fear of infinity. But you know, as you get older, you learn how to control your thoughts. And yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about all this scary stuff, but yeah, I did learn to control my thoughts. And also, everybody's response to the Q&A video that I did with Louis on his channel, when we talked about whether we were religious or not, everybody was brilliant in the comments, really supportive, and that was good. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just be a bit more upfront about my beliefs. And I would say that when I had an experience of God for the first time when I was 13, I kind of believed in God when I was little, then I kind of threw it all out with the Tooth Fairy and Father Christmas. But I did have a very clear experience when I was about 13 that kind of made it undeniable from then. And I would say instantly, particularly that fear of infinity went altogether. I think that's the thing. There is that saying, or maybe it's something in the Bible or something, but perfect love casts out all fear. And I think when you know that you're safe, and you know that you're loved, and you know that there's hope, then that's something else that you can use to protect yourself from those fears gripping you. And
not letting you live the fulfilled life in all its richness that you should. See you next time.